Alright, for my first action, I'd like to talk about World Anvil. World Anvil lets you go from massive binders of notes to a nice cohesive online platform where you can organize all your information into one simple, easy, manageable system. You can keep track of NPCs, where my fourth action went, player backstories, and so much more. For my second action, I'd like to use the showing off action, where I can tell you that you can upload custom NPC stat blocks directly to your campaign. And all it takes is just one search and you can find any NPC that you have curtailed to your world. Makes finding that tavern keeper a little faster. For my last action, I want to tell everyone that World Anvil is an amazing product for amazing GMs, so check it out. Hey GM, what does multiple attack penalty mean? Hello everyone, welcome back to another Daily DA interview. I am your host, James. Unfortunately, my co-hosts are a little busy today, but that is perfectly okay. Today, I am joined by Andrew.
Andrew Mullen, PM. I'm a freelancer, and full-time father is the main bit right now. So again, if I frequently glance off camera, I'm trying to figure out if my kid is about to wake up or not. We'll see.
The fauna of Luminate Age. Can you talk about the project and what that means?
Yeah, so Fauna of the Luminant Age is sort of our first foray into a new campaign setting for Pathfinder 2E. So myself, Mikhail Rekun, and Isabel Thorne, all freelancers for Paizo for various years, are working together to make basically a weird fantasy setting for 2E. On the path to the big expensive campaign book, we're doing some smaller projects, both to kind of get it out there for folks and to kind of incrementally develop an art budget. For the most part, art is expensive, as it turns out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right.
It's an animation channel. We'd never know. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, and all the art on the back of your wall there probably costs something, I would imagine. Long story short, it is a weird fantasy setting that is kind of a fantasy world built on top of the ruins of a more advanced old world. But we want to give it a much stronger focus on how the people currently living in the world experience it and explain all the weird old stuff that's around. Like one thing you get in Pathfinder is that there's a lot of really cool setting stuff, but based on sort of the demands of making a game that they want so many people to be able to play it and get what they want out of it, and just page count and how the products are laid out, you don't get a super strong sense, at least up until recently with newer books, of what it's like to be in the world. There's not a lot of detail on, you're walking through a city, what does it look like, feel like? There's fewer ground level things. So particularly in this book, it's a bestiary. Every bestiary entry, the flavor text is from an in-world perspective. So we've got like a naturalist who sort of describes the various creatures, but then also, there's basically the vampire anteater guard dog. The Hend is a big thing with a tongue that like whips out with a fang, hits something, injects it full of stuff that liquefies the inside so it can slurp it out. There's a big beefy guard dog version of that. And so on top of the naturalist sort of writings about this creature, then you have an in-world quote from a thief character who, was trying to rob a place and encounters one and says, "Oh, I'm not going to try this place again. Bye." So we want to make it feel like a very lived-in, approachable place. And part of that is just, I think that's fun and good gaming, to be able to really inhabit a space. But two, we're trying to really make it a weird world, and having those sorts of on the ground perspectives helps a GM run the game and players to play the game, because you don't want something so weird that it's unapproachable. You need some scaffolding to be able to play in that world and have fun with it.
Yeah, I definitely get like twisted Studio Ghibli vibes from the entire document.
Yeah, it's Nausicaa is definitely, and like Castle in the Sky are definitely some of the influences. On my personal side, I don't know if you've ever read any China Mieville.
Reading takes too much time, my friend.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a parent. It sure does. um, he's, I guess he calls his own stuff weird fiction, and he's got some really great books. First one I ever read was Perdido Street Station. Um, but it's, yeah, just somewhat familiar surroundings with just really bizarre things thrown in, really really strong evocative images and things like that. And that's probably the influence I pull on the most. And the other authors can, do their own pieces. But yeah, we want to have we still want it to be fantasy, but we want it to be stranger. I feel like there's a lot of sort of post-apocalyptic, ruins based things. You've got like Numenera, and to a certain extent like Numeria and Pathfinder. But we want it to feel distinct. So one way to do that, it's basically a Renaissance sort of technology level, except, oh, I forgot the whole big main thing. So the inciting incident for this whole period is that back in the day, there were the Mirror People, this amazing planet-spanning civilization, and they tapped into the veins of God and kept pulling out all of his blood to fuel all of their wonderful creations. And eventually they killed him. So killed them. This isn't Christianity. They killed them, and their eye closed, and the whole world went dark. And then one of God's angels was merciful enough to pluck out their eyes and relight the sky, et cetera, et cetera. So God's blood is the sort of main fuel of this world, Iker. And in the almost 2,000 years since the sky went dark and 90% of the population died, they're finally getting to harvest this fuel again, which is empowering sort of the technological revolution. So this is an age where like airships are starting to be a thing. The printing press is starting to be a thing. So we want to, one of the reasons it's the Luminant Age is because we want to frame it as a world where the PCs can step in and determine the course of history effectively. That happens in like Galarian and stuff too. But we really wanted to establish it as a world of possibility where all these sorts of sciences and things are starting to take off in a big way, and the face of the world is going to change, and you can help shift that.
Yeah, in Pathfinder, you get closing the world wound. In this, you can either literally close the world.
Yeah. I mean, if you really wanted to hit rewind and like 2,000 years ago, teleport the world into darkness, go for it. I'm sure there's plenty of weird machinery and whatever else hidden around the world that you can enact a new apocalypse with.
What has been your favorite monster to work on? Because I've only seen the monster end of all this.
Right, yeah. I guess the one we put the most page space into was the Masked Strix, which is sort of an owl leopard thing. I think the way we frame it in world is they're pretty sure that the previous civilization domesticated them or raised them or something, but now they're sort of the boogeyman in the night. They're mostly invisible most of the time. They're smart, sort of like raptors in Jurassic Park. They could work a doorknob and come after you. And we really wanted to nail this sort of like creepy, sort of sinister life vibe with it. And design-wise, like that's tricky because you want something that sells the agile sort of aesthetic of the thing, which normally means like dodging, parrying, that kind of stuff. But you don't want it to do it in a way that feels punishing to fight. So I think one of its main abilities is they hate magic. Something about it, they go berserk when somebody casts a spell or they encounter like a priest with links to divine power or whatever. So one of their abilities is the ability to like reflect a spell back at somebody, but you don't want them to be able to use that all the time because that would suck. Like especially in Pathfinder 2, where you get 3 of your best spells per day or whatever. So I think if it critically fails, there's some mitigating factor where it can lose that ability, and you can feel smart for doing that. And like on the fast front, I think is a single action that can step twice or 3 times. So it's always a balance in monster design, getting your theme and your aesthetic forward within word count. So something like that, I think it's called Slink or something like that. It can step 2 or 3 times single action. That's like a one line of text in the layout. It doesn't take a bunch of words, but helps drive that image of it, sort of slipping around your defenses and that kind of stuff.
Really amazing. Have you guys gotten like a lot of support so far, or you don't have to talk about you don't have to talk about detail, just general backing?
Yeah, I mean, we're setting the goals fairly modestly because at this point we don't, we're not printing a whole dang book, so we don't need a ton. But yeah, the first Kickstarter, I think we got our initial funding goal in like 5 hours, and then blew past it, and we're able to get all the extra art that we sort of our pie in the sky hope. So hopefully that happens again. And I'm hoping that it will, because this is going to be full player options and things, which I feel like always sell a bit better than more GM facing stuff. Although on that front, if you want familiars and animal companions, those are in Fauna of Luminant Age as well. So
yeah, I was just about to say I'm looking at the animal companions right now, and I remember when initially looking at it, I was just like, oh, that's so cool. And it's not even only animal companions, because you also have like feats and stuff that you can take for if you want a specific animal.
Yeah, I think you can get a smaller riding cell ray. Yeah, those are fun to work on. On the weird factor. So there's ash pelts and rime pelts. I think ash pelts are, think like monkeys as an urban pest, except these can also like cast magic spells and apparently can learn magic. You have like the little bands of them that'll teach each other simple cantrips and things. Part of the inspiration there was like, there are dolphins outside of Sydney, Australia. Like one of them basically learned to dance and taught the rest of its pod to do that, because then people would throw food at it. So you've got a similar like thing going on, except it's magic and all these horrible tentacled monkey things that can set your house on fire.
Yeah, the idea of these guys would produce flame is an immediate.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that stat block for all the little ones is a troop or a swarm. So you've got 24 horrible caster monkeys combining all their spells to barrage you with stuff.
So where can people find this work or support the project?
So yeah, we just launched our store on itch. So it's luminant-age.itch.io. We're also on Twitter, Luminant A. And that's got a link to store and everything else. Launch a new crowdfunding initiative for the next sort of mini book, which will be equipment and like, I never had to say this word out loud. Hematochimerism, basically taking animal bits and fusing them to you or replacing limbs or that sorts of thing. Weird alchemical stuff, that kind of stuff. Items and equipment, again, with a good view on what the world is like.
Well, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Andrew, and we'll see you in the next interview.
Yeah, that'd be great.